Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Julia, and on behalf of Team Konekt, I thank you for joining our webinar today on such short notice. Yesterday, we had a French session and over 300 people from the nonprofit sector joined us. Super exciting. They gave us feedback that had been incorporated in today's session. So you have a little bit different version. And just like no two Salesforce orgs are the same, no two webinars are the same for us. Some logistics, you are in a silent mode during the presentation to ensure the best experience for all. I encourage you to send questions using the Q&A icon that you have in your webinar control. At the end of this webinar, we reserve about 20 minutes, even more, to make sure we answer your questions. You can also say hello using chat function to other participants or panelists. So when you're sending something where you see it says to, you can drop it down, whether to all panelists or all attendees and panelists. We appreciate your feedback. So when the webinar ends, you will be redirected toward a survey page. And to thank you for your feedback, you will get the slides of these presentations once we get your feedback. So thank you very much. All right. So the Konekt campaign is organized by Uniburo, Phil, and Samplic. We're three distinct companies, but we are united in our missions to help nonprofits succeed. We started planning this Konekt. Actually, it was supposed to be a meeting back in January, and it was supposed to be a breakfast event. But last Saturday, as you guys know, for public health safety reasons, we converted the event into a webinar. And in our strong collaboration and working together that allow us to turn around in just 4 days. And actually, the English session was supposed to be in May, and we last minute turned around and decided to add it to Friday. So please forgive us as there are some hiccups because we kind of put it in together last minute. So a little bit about the Konekt mission. The campaign was born because Kim Francois and I got together, and as we work with numerous nonprofits on a daily basis, we see firsthand how those who strive and those who struggle. We see how the tech tools of yesterday hurt nonprofit today. So our objective of the campaign is to raise awareness of cloud solutions that are available for nonprofits today that make a difference. I'm a Salesforce expert, so for me, when I see nonprofit who is still on server-based solution, it hurts me, and I want to help. I want to do better because technology is a game changer, and more nonprofits should be using it in strategic ways. We also wanted to emphasize the success factors that are relevant in today's connected mobile and somewhat impatient world. The world today is data-driven. Most of us, you know that that's the case, but what does it really mean for a small and nonprofit organization? The mission of the Konekt campaign was to share that and relate what are the factors that are important in today's context. And finally, as this was supposed to be a in-person collaboration and interaction, we wanted to connect nonprofits so they can learn from one another, share their experiences, share their successes and their learnings. So three of us uniting is a great example of how sharing in collaboration brings incredible results. This was our core mission, but as the outbreak of coronavirus became a crisis and took over our lives, we had to use our collaboration and platform to help you with what is relevant now, which is crisis management, uncertainty, events cancellations, how to work remotely. Many of you join us today to learn how to effectively communicate with donors in this time of crisis, how to fundraise given the uncertainty, budget uncertainties, how to manage your people when you're not in the same room anymore, what collaboration tools to use. You ask, and we will do our best to deliver, like we always do. So if you have any questions, please throw them through the question and answer icon. We'll be do our best to answer those. And with that, I will ask our presenters to present themselves.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Kim Fuller. I am founder and CEO of Phil. We help nonprofits with their strategy, fundraising, and communications to help them do more good and do it better. So today I'm going to be covering leadership and crisis management. I'll be briefly talking about how, what, and how to communicate. We're all very upside down with everything that's going on right now. So we're going to look at how to be effective in our communications. And we'll also be looking at, later on in the presentation, we'll be looking at some cloud solutions during and after the crisis. François?
Thank you, Kim. Yeah, I'm François de Guéret. I'm co-founder at SimplyK. We offer a free fundraising suite for nonprofits. So our mission is to help nonprofits grow their impact through more resources. Today, I will talk about event cancellations with the outbreak of coronavirus, and I will talk about online donation, try to give important tips so that you succeed in your next campaign during the following months.
Thanks, Francois. And my name is Julia Hohn. I'm a president and founder of Unibur, a Salesforce.com and .org partner. Today, I would like to share with you how to manage remote work. What are some of the free tools that you could use? In the nonprofit sector, we're aware how funding could be an issue. We'll give you some tools to prepare for tomorrow because I'm very optimistic, and I will give you some homework, which is going to be on data quality.
Thanks, Julia. So I'm going to try and take control of the screen and get these slides moving so we can get our presentation underway. So, well, it's total panic, right? We don't know what to expect. It's happening quickly, and it seems like it's going to last a while. We need to breathe. And I mean, like literally, seriously, together, let's take a deep breath. It feels good, and I'm sure you haven't done so consciously in the last several days. So just take a deep breath with me and we'll get started. Breathing is also going to help you better absorb all this information that we have to share with you today, and there is quite a lot. So let's get started. This is what we would like to see ourselves as during a time of crisis and during difficult times. This is how it probably really feels for most of us. I know this kind of looks like my week in a nutshell. And so we have a lot to deal with. What I want to address with you guys first and foremost is the qualities of leadership. And whether you are running an organization or working for an organization, all of us have to step up into leadership positions right now. And so we're going to go over these points that were so generously offered by Deloitte. And we've put the link on the slide there for you to go spend some more time with it after when you get our slides after this presentation. But at the heart of everything that we're doing is our mission, obviously. And as difficult as it may seem right now, we have to put the needs of others before our own. And we have to stabilize. We have to take quick action. Charities are not usually very good at taking quick action. Some are, some aren't, but usually there's a lot of steps, a lot of decision makers involved, and it can be frustrating at times. And so this crisis is really forcing charities and nonprofits to react quickly. And I know that can be scary for some. Your board of directors should already be involved. If they aren't already, you should be thinking about planning an emergency call to get their support and help you plan the next few weeks and months. When you're planning your communications, you need to find a message that is specific to your organization. I'm sure you've felt it in the last few days. I know that my inbox was inundated. There's so much information going around. People are overwhelmed. And so it's really important that you demonstrate the relevance and the implications of COVID-19 relating to your organization. This is not the time for generic responses. You really have to contextualize it for your organization and what it means to your operations, and be as specific as possible. It's going to require transparency, and we've been talking about transparency in the sector for quite some time, but now we need it even more than ever, because it's going to be essential to be authentic and honest. And so if this crisis is going to have a significant impact on your organization, don't hide that from your stakeholders. Be truthful about it, and people will show up to help. I can, well, not guarantee, but I have a really strong feeling that people are looking to help those who are in need right now. You also have to plan long-term, right? So what we're recommending is that you have two plans. You have a plan for the new reality, which is going to be our next 3 to 6 months minimum, and then a plan for when things go back to normal, whatever that new normal will be. We're not really sure at this point. But what's important is to have two game plans. And I understand that it's super hard for most organizations, especially the smaller ones, to get even one plan in place. But now that many people's programs and services are slowed down because of self-isolation, now is the best time to be doing that planning. So I find that illustrating with real examples helps. So I'm going to get a little vulnerable here and share my own experience. I've been running left, right, and center for the last week, reacting to this crisis. My number one priority was my team. Without them, we can't move forward. Then we set up protocols to get through the crisis. Before COVID-19, we had nothing in place for crisis management. And I'm embarrassed to admit that we didn't practice what we preached, because we're forever telling our clients to have those in place. But in less than 48 hours, with the help of our B Corp community, our team, and a little research on the internet, we were on the right track. 48 hours after that, we made these slides for the webinar. So we've been moving really, really quickly, proving that where there's a will, there's a way. Once our team was comforted and had confidence that we were going to be able to face this crisis together, we focused on our clients. Who are going to be the most affected, who the least. We made a spreadsheet with color coding about who should be contacted first on level of their emergency. We didn't have all the answers right away, so we at least reached out to everybody to tell them that we were taking action. We just didn't know what those actions would be right away. So with 80% of our clients in health and education, you can just imagine that last Friday was an unforgettable day in my 24-year career. And regarding digital capabilities, we're fortunate enough that we've been working in the cloud for more than 5 years, and we had several tools in place that already allowed us to work remotely, thank goodness. But in view of how long we could potentially be in isolation, we had to improve our systems and even add even more tools. And with the internal team, we were doing okay for the short term, and we were quick to adapt, luckily. But with the clients, that's where we still have a lot of work to do. And we're still, through the weekend, I'll be looking to implement some new features, and our technical team has been working to install a live chat feature on our website so that we have tools that will help people stay connected with us despite the social distancing. So we're really trying to react quickly and thinking about how this is going to affect how people want to reach us. Over the last week, we've had to make quick decisions to differentiate important from urgent. And it's forced us to review our timelines and our priorities, and it threw a whole lot of things right out the window. As the CEO, I felt the weight was entirely on my shoulders, and I wanted to protect my team and my clients, but I had to allow myself to be a bit vulnerable and finally ask for help. And in the end, I was able to delegate and move forward faster. So asking for help from my team and patience from our customers, that's what's been able to help us get through this first week. And from an accountability standpoint, making it clear to each of our team members what they were responsible for has really helped our projects stay on track. So I hope that in sharing a bit of that, of my personal story, there's something in there that you can relate and take back to your own teams in terms of how you want to deal with these 3 dimensions of priorities, time framing, and accountability. This is a really heavy document, but like I said, it's available in the link from the PDF that you'll get of these slides after the webinar. I really love this idea of respond, recover, and thrive. I like things that are in order. I like that this makes me feel safe in knowing that we have to take immediate action, but that there will be a positive outcome. So I encourage you to take a look at this amazing document that was built really quickly by the Deloitte team, and I'm very grateful for them to have shared all of this wonderful knowledge so publicly through their website. Now, I recognize that this is in a very corporate context, but there's so much of this. I'd say there's 90% of this to-do list that you can transfer to your not-for-profit organization. And it's a really great roadmap, especially with the accountability, seeing who should be in charge of what across all the stages. So I hope you'll take some time next week when things have quieted down a little bit to see how you can start applying some of these steps. In terms of communications during a crisis, we need to be clear about what we're talking about and concise. Like I said earlier, and I'm sure you've felt it, there is information overload coming from the radio, from social media, from email, from my mother calling all the time to ask me how we're doing. You need to minimize the amount of communication. Depending on your organization, you might need to share a lot of communication. This is going to be different for each organization and your stakeholders. So really look at who you're talking to and what they need to hear from you to feel secure. Your donors want to hear from you. They're worried about you. So try to give them some clear messaging. And in terms of messaging with your volunteers, be compassionate, be available, try to set up some ways that they can reach you. The easiest, fastest way to set out some information right now is on social media. We know that a good number of you are out there, so please use your social media channels responsibly. There's some bad misinformation that's spreading faster than the virus itself. So, we all have a responsibility to share, to fact check and share good information. And if you spot anybody who's sharing bad information on social media, and as it relates to your organization, make sure you stay on top of comments and all of those things to keep an eye out. Email marketing is going to be bigger than ever, obviously, and the phone. We're going old school, folks. This is a tremendous opportunity. We have volunteers who are stuck at home who have nothing to do. Why don't we give them a script, give them some tips, and have them call your donors, have them call your more vulnerable donors, perhaps your older donors who are feeling more isolated than ever. Ask them what your organization can do during this time of need above and beyond your normal services and programming. That simple gesture of reaching out and making sure that everybody's okay in your community is going to go a really long way once we get things back on track. The other thing is video conferencing. A lot of you are going to have to scramble to find ways to stay in touch with your board members, your volunteers, and otherwise. So looking into video conferencing tools is going to be a great way. You can also host a webinar like we're doing if you want to touch base. I've already had clients reaching out about converting their AGM to a video conference so that they don't have to postpone those types of events. And we'll be talking a little bit later about the different types of tools that are available. So all of these things should help you respond and in time recover and continue to thrive. And just take a moment to think about who you're talking to. And it's not business as usual. So if you have any communications planned, make sure that you adapt them to the crisis, that you don't just go into your regular direct mail pieces or anything else that you had planned without mentioning the crisis. You need to contextualize it for your organization and make sure your donors know what you're doing in response to it.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Kim. Even if I heard it yesterday, I still learned a lot of new things that didn't went through, so it's really interesting. I'm François, I'm co-founder at Simplicate. So Simplicate are free fundraising tools used by non-profits, so to do a donation campaign, recruit volunteers, sell tickets. So it's a free fundraising suite. Today, I will talk about events and managing events during the crisis and give tips to create effective donation campaigns. The knowledge that I will share comes from both research and internet, etc. But also, we spend the week speaking with a non-profit who use SimplyK, asking them how they react, and they have been really creative. So thanks a lot to them. I will share a lot of their knowledge too. So first, events. So obviously, many events are cancelled or postponed. So the first question and first basic question is what events will be affected? So first thing, if it's before May 15th, from what we see, it's really, really likely that it will have to be either postponed and or cancelled. If it's between May and June, it will really, really probably be affected. And what's important to realize is that even if it's during the summer, fall, it may be impacted and you have to communicate about it. So even events that are in October and or November, you have today to adapt your strategy because no one really knows if it's really going to be better, a bit like what we see in China right now where it's recovering, or people are also saying there might be a second outbreak. So in all cases, your attendees, your participants are waiting for adapted communication and adapted strategy from you. So it's a great thing to adapt, but how? So the first idea is to postpone the events coming in the next 3 months. You should postpone except if it's interfering with the future campaign or events. If you have already an event, let's say in June and in September, you will probably have to just cancel the one in June. And I have two, I think, interesting tips if you want to maintain your event for now. So if your events are, let's say, in June, you can try to stick to your plans, but two tips, you can replace the registration by a free registration, or you can stick to your plans and let them know today what are the options to be refunded. So this way you can still get prepared for your event, you can still accumulate your list of attendees, but it's not an investment for your participant because like today it's tough to pay something for an event when you don't really know if that's going to happen. So here is an example of an organization where they added a ticket to pre-register, and so it's free, but for the organization it's great because if things go better, it allows you to get the list of attendees. So it's a bit like Kim said, it's a plan if it's going well and a plan if it's not going well. So now we hope that you can maintain, you have the registration, but you may have to cancel a lot of events. And there are basically 3 options when you want to cancel. The first one is to convert the ticket to a donation. So let's say you have a gala where the ticket is $200. You will suggest to convert to a $200 donations, and you can provide a tax receipt on the full value. Then it works also for some organization to propose a credit for a future event. So you tell your donors, thank you for your support. It will allow you to participate to a next event. And then, of course, you can cancel and refund. I'm sure you're wondering which one is suited for you. So, well, usually nonprofits, they ask their donors between the 3 options. But a great thing to do is to ask your participants, so to call a few participants to know what they think, how they are feeling. I saw a message about my mic. If you can say if someone of you can't hear me. I hope it's okay. Well, so you should really call a few attendees to know how they feel about your event before choosing which options you recommend. So then, interesting stat from this week, we see that approximately 1 out of 2 donors will ask for a refund, especially corporate donors, and 1 out of 2 will convert into a donation. So that obviously depends on the nonprofit, but it gives you an estimate. So now we talked about events, how to adapt, how to cancel. I'd like to share a few ideas for the future because as organization, your missions are all really important and you need to find ways to continue and to compensate on the budget you're not getting through events. The first idea and really important one is to contact all your major donors. So there are maybe 10, 20 people who account for almost half of your philanthropy or half of your budget. And as Kim said, it's really important that you or some volunteers or someone in your team take some time to know how they feel and how they will react through the situation. Your strategy will be really different with or without those donors. So you have to know before planning the rest of your activities. So then since you don't have any events, it's a great opportunity to think long-term. So to look 6 months, to breathe, take the time to breathe and look 6 months, 5 years from now, where do you want to be? Really refocus on your mission, think about your communication strategy, think about your data, the tech you're using, and try to really prepare for the next few years, because that's something that will allow you to go really faster when things will go back to normal. I think it's also a great time to work with consultants and companies because they will offer they will probably offer discount to nonprofits, have more time for nonprofits. So it's a great way to work with them in the long term. Then I have a few ideas for you of events and fundraising events that you can do in a moment of when you can't have live events like actual events. So the first idea is a virtual dinner. So it's a gala where everyone cooks at home. So what's great is that you give your supporter a dress code, you give them maybe like a menu for the dinner, you tell them what to cook, and then everyone share photos. They can listen to a speaker through Zoom. They can even donate through an auction. And with the technology, with Zoom, for example, you can have some smaller rooms with like 5 or 10 people where people can network a bit, even if they are all at home. A really cool idea I heard this morning is to have a chef giving a cooking lesson so that everybody is preparing the same dinner with a Facebook Live of someone explaining what to do. So that's a great idea. And what's really cool is that 100% of the donation will really go to your mission because you don't have any venue, you don't have to take care of catering. So it's really a donation, and so it's less budget. Then a great idea is to empower maybe your board or your major donors. You can do a peer-to-peer campaigns. So it means that you have your donors and they will go in their own network for you to raise the money that's key to your mission. So about that, I would like to ask your suggestions. I think the chat, you probably have other ideas. We saw companies offering yoga classes through Zoom, and we thought it was really interesting ideas. So if you have questions, obviously you can use the chat, and if you want to to share ideas, it's also a great time to do so. So another question I have is, should I do a COVID-19 campaign right now or in the following few weeks? Well, I think right now you should do a campaign if COVID-19 is impacting your beneficiaries directly. So if you're a food bank, for example, and you don't have any volunteers because your volunteers are a bit older and they can't come any longer, and you need to keep providing people in difficulties, you should directly start a campaign. People want to help, even if they worry about their budget too. You should definitely do a campaign. Then if we look a bit more in a few weeks, I think your mission will still be very, very important. What's key when you will have campaigns in the next weeks and months is to be transparent and fully explain why you are doing donation campaigns and where will the money goes. So in the following times, people will still donate, but they will want to know exactly what the money is used for. So before going further, so the first part was really about so events and fundraising strategies, given that you can't really have events in the next few months. Now I know you will all do a lot of virtual donation campaigns, and I'd like to share 6 tips in 6 minutes so that your donation campaigns are successful during the next months. The first one is really simple. Your donation forms should be embedded in your website. It limits the number of clicks. You can manage the aesthetics. The emotional contact with your donor is done because the person doesn't have to leave your website. It's good for the SEO of your site, and it raises more awareness about your mission, because once someone donated, they are still on your website, and so they will spend more time on it. The second point, and it's probably the most important one, is really explain why you need donation, explain why you are doing this donation campaign. Sometimes it's not that intuitive because you also get the advice to, not too much text, not too many pictures, just keep it simple. But when it comes to explaining why, don't go in the simplicity. It's the only moment where you can be complex. Like really explain, okay, if I donate $50, how many meals can you provide? How many people can you help? Explain, explain, explain. Then it's more a marketing idea. Once you have explained, always add a call to action. And so then people are donating. It's great to recommend amounts, so 20, 50, 75, 100. But keep in mind that you want your donors to choose the third or fourth amount. So if you know people donate usually $100, it's great to recommend 20, 50, 75, and 100. Like you don't want them to feel cheap when they donate. You want them to be really proud because they deserve to be proud. And then you should adapt the monthly buttons, monthly amounts, because it's obviously different. And finally, always have large buttons so that it's responsive on smartphones. So 5, I think I do less than 1 minute per advice. I hope I'm not going too fast and you still get all the value. 5, once your supporters are donating, keep it really simple. So once they are donating, it's the moment to just have them fill all the information. So no more content, no more pictures, just a form. And so I saw a comment a bit fast. I can send we'll have a Q&A too. So yeah, once people are donating, have the form really simple, no distraction. And last but not least, the thank you message is really an opportunity for you. When people donate, 50% of them won't have a thank you message. And I think it's really terrible because donating is a strong action. You really want to reward that action. You want to create a strong connection with them, to provide the why, to remind them what you will do with the donation, etc. So those were the 6 tips. And I think the really most important one is to explain why you will explain why you are asking them for a donation, what you will do with the donation. So thanks a lot, guys. So at Simplic, we're there to help you. You can ask any question if you need advice on your donation campaigns, whether you do them with SimpliK or without SimpliK. We'd be happy to help. Basically, it's a donation, a fundraising suite where we don't charge any fee for your campaigns. Also at SimpliK, if you need volunteers during the pandemic, so either remote or they can be in person too, we just started an emergency platform so that you can find volunteers during the crisis. Thanks a lot. I will be happy to answer questions, and I think I will let Julia go. One last thing I saw, is Simplic a CRM? SimpliK is not a CRM, but Julia is the CRM specialist. So I will let her continue.
Thank you, Francois. Again, I listened to it again second time, and yet I still learned very, very cool stuff. Well, I would like to start with talking about remote work. We added this topic as we saw the demand. A lot of questions were coming in, and as Francois King said, we are organizations, we have our own specialties, yet we always at the service of the nonprofit community. So when you asked us about remote work, we said, no problem, let us share how remote work is done. So the question number one, everybody asks how to get work done when you're not working in the office. And it's interesting because for a decade or maybe more than that, the tech world, which we 3 of us are, has been doing remote work for many, many years, and we're very familiar and we know how to get it done. So here's some of my tips that I put together, reading the articles and using our own experiences. Thing number one is a Scrum board. This comes from the Agile methodology, where you put things on the board, and one side has things to do, and the other side would have things that are in progress or done. And here in this picture, you actually see, this is my dining room converted to a Scrum board for my children, and they have their tasks to do, and when they get them done, they put them on the other side. And we in the office as well actually have our own Scrum board that is not electronic, but it's actually glued on our board. And every time we are working in a sprint, it's very satisfying to move that postage from one column to another. So getting Scrum board into, I know probably now it won't be possible to do it physically, so I will show you how you can do it using another platform that is called Trello. So your Scrum board will contain things that team needs to work on, and you will see who's working on them and where the things are getting done. One of the another tip that we will help you to get work done, especially now when you don't see people and don't see what they're working on and what they would want to work on, is daily Scrum. Daily Scrum is basically 10 minutes conversation with the team, and you answer only 3 questions. Things that a person accomplished since last Scrum, so yesterday, things that you want to accomplish today, and things that are holding you back. So this is another time for status call, status updates. It's really 10 minutes, 15-minute conversation. Team goes around and says, I'm working on getting this communication done, and by today I will get the draft to Kim. Very specific and very action-oriented. And during that time, you also share what's holding you back. Well, you can say things like, well, Julia haven't given her piece of work and I can't finish my draft. So, but you don't continue conversation. In that time, you will take it out of the daily scrum to talk about why Julie is not delivering on her work. So that's my 2 top tips using the agile methodology that is used in tech, Scrum board and daily Scrum to get things done. And it works because I'll tell you guys, my house have never been cleaner since this Scrum board is in my dining room. Recognition and relationship. Remote work can feel, for many who haven't done it before, very lonely, and I see that it's disappeared. That's the other point. Recognition and relationship. Encouraging formal conversations. We are social animals, and it's important to not only talk about work, but also be able to connect with others through other conversations that we usually would have in the office. Talk about weather, talk about what's happening, and how people deal with things internally. Now that they can chat in a lunchroom. So later on, I'll show you that Slack is a great way to do that, because you can have a different Slack channel for for whatever channel where you can share your tips and recipes, or just informal conversations. Yesterday, I saw a really cool article about how it is important for people to feel rewarded and recognized, especially now, and since we don't have that human interaction. So companies have it actually virtual reward ceremonies via Zoom, so you can actually talk to your employees and recognize their achievement, even though you're not in the same location. Something what we do at Univer is called Daily Diary. It's also a way to communicate how the day went, and not necessarily about work, but about anything. And in the same way, like we do Daily Scrum, there's 3 questions that everybody has to answer. It is question number 1. People have to share exciting, amazing, and interesting thing that happened today in a specific day. So everybody has to come up with 3 or 2. People share also what was challenging during the day. We always have a lot of those. And the last thing that is most important, we have to be grateful for something. And it's the hardest category to be grateful for. So you basically force yourself to think what was great in a day and what are you grateful for, because gratitude is very important. So those are my tips on remote work and more. I have a couple more. So one of the biggest issues challenges with remote work could be that it gets lonely. Employees can feel, or you can feel, isolated. So it is very important these times for managers to make sure that you address that point. And how? Well, be available, but do establish communication expectations. So for example, you know what time you will be able to respond. And if you're an employee and you have a manager, please communicate with them when you are not available. So there's that understanding of availabilities, and regular team meetings and one-on-ones. So connecting with employers, with your team members individually on a weekly basis is recommended. And some of the very cool stuff that I advocate, and it's very important. Dress up, show up for work, even though you're in your living room or around your kitchen table, you are at work. So even though suit is not required, but do get out of your PJs, because that facilitates the transition from home to work, and it's very important to get to state of work. Schedule. Start time is super important. So make sure, it's very easy to start doing other tasks when you're at home, and especially when children are at home. So program your start time. And my very good tip to program a start time, we would actually have our daily Scrum meeting scheduled at 8:30. So at 8:30, I know I have to be on a call, and everything needs to be done by 8:30, and we take 10 minutes to talk about what we're going to accomplish during the day. And that kind of puts you in a work mode. You can schedule the breaks within a day. So you do take time off the computer and the screen, which is we're in front of them all the time right now. And lunch, I think it's super important to schedule lunch. Otherwise, you will work through that lunch hour and not take time for yourself. So in our calendar, actually, lunch has been scheduled forever. And unless something happens, that lunch hour is very special. And you can also program the end time. And I think nowadays our children can help us to program that end time. You can tell them that I will be done by 5 o'clock and you are allowed to bother me and ask questions at my end time. There are tons of resources that are available online. There's a great Forbes article talking about remote work. Salesforce, actually, on Trailhead, there's a great article on how to manage remote teams. And within that trail, there's so many other additional resources on tools and best practices. So if you really want to educate yourself and see what works for you, what can work and what cannot work, it's a great resource that I recommend. I went through the whole trail yesterday, and it's pretty good. So that's my tips on remote work. Here's our tech tools, and this is our favorites because there's a lot, and I'm sure I didn't cover, I don't have all of them, all the possibilities, but these ones that I know specifically, and I can tell them the good and the bad. So here we go. And because we are in a nonprofit sector, price is always important. So we always look at that angle. So for collaborations, Trello is a project management Scrum board, and check it out. So there's a free version. You don't have to pay for it to some extent. So it's very easy. It's like a Post-it note task management system, and tasks are organized into projects, and you can assign them to your team. And it's very, very easy to use. The learning curve is not that steep. In a similar way, there's Asana. Asana is a little bit, I would say, a little bit higher on the learning curve. There's also a project management and tasks view for your projects. Between Trello and Asana, Trello is much more simpler. So we started first with Trello and then moved to Asana, and then actually went to Monday.com, which is a very cool platform, a little bit expensive, but does worth it if you're thinking long term that you're going to stick with Monday.com. Nowadays, we all manage all our projects on Salesforce, but these is an option that are pretty cool to start how you can start collaborating with your team today. Gabriella from Salesforce.org shared with me that Quip Documents, which is a very cool collaboration solution, is now free for the nonprofits during the crisis. So check that one out as well. This entire campaign is built and collaborated using the Google Suite of Documents. So this particular presentation is actually using Google Slides, and we have our Google Sheets and our Google Docs. So definitely free and very easy to use to collaborate with your team. Box and Dropbox are very similar, but not the same. Box and Dropbox are both document management platforms. Box a little bit more complex in the way that it has metadata templates, and Dropbox has been around for a while. So these are the tools that you can use to collaborate with your team. There's also Mural.io. I haven't used it personally, but I checked it out and it looks pretty cool. It's also project management delivery platform. I didn't think it was free. There's a $12 per month per user, I think. Oh, my voice cuts out. I don't know if it's my side or yours. Let me just make sure I'm well hooked in. All right, communication tools. Zoom. This web conference is brought to you through Zoom, and 40 minutes by Zoom are free. Yesterday, we heard from one of our participants that now Zoom is offering it for free. We are trying to validate that, and if it is, we will certainly share with people on this call. So Zoom, you can have regular meetings, conferences, there's Zoom rooms. There's actually Zoom telehealth that I saw yesterday that we're thinking about helping clinics to use. There is also Join.me, which is similar to Zoom. There's a free trial on Join.me, so you can check it out. Slack. Slack is a messaging platform. It's like your Facebook Messenger or any other messenger, but you can have not only your own team, you can have people outside of your organization, it works with the email and not the phone number. So this is a very great tool if you're trying to talk to many people at the same time and they're not necessarily have the same platform. Because if you are on the Facebook, everybody has to be on the Facebook. If you are using like Google Hangouts, everybody needs to have a Google account. So Slack as kind of like all in one, and you can search the channel, the whole Slack thread, and you can make different channels. For example, you can make that channel for informal conversations, or what you have for lunch channel type of thing, which is pretty cool. Google Hangouts is another communication tool that is free. A lot of people using Skype and WhatsApp as well, because you can have those on your computer, not on your phone. Also very cool, but not free. I mean, Zoom, 40 minutes is free, but then you have to pay for your subscription. And then there's GoToMeetings, that is very established communication tool that is available. If you guys have any questions about any of these tools and want to give us a scenario of what you're trying to solve, we will do our best between three of us to recommend and see if there's other tools we recommend. For example, this week, Francois received a message from somebody like, hey guys, we're doing a board meeting. What would you recommend for voting? And there's so many tools for voting, and we tried many of them. So maybe we can give our advice on which one is the best. If you ask me which is better, Zoom or Join.me, it depends. Does your people need a local call-in number? If that, then Join.me is a better platform because it has local numbers, whereas Zoom, you always have to call to the Toronto area number. So those kind of things we can help you out. So don't hesitate to reach out to us. All right. Well, it's clear right now that we're in a crisis mode, and there is a lot of uncertainty, and people are scared. Global public health is at risk. We know that, we don't know how bad the economic fall will be, and your operations are destabilized, to say the least. Like events are canceled, and those are revenue that were very important to you are no longer there. But with all this uncertainty, there is one certainty, and that we will recover. Like Kim said, respond to recover and then thrive. It's hard to see it now as we're still falling, and perhaps worse is still yet to come. But we know from history and deep down in our heart that we are resilient and we're strong. And it is times like now that puts us in an uncomfortable position that make us most creative, forces us to innovate and think out of the box. And remember that it's not how often and how hard you fall, but it is how strong and confident you get up. So as you deal with the crisis and responding and recovering, start thinking, what does it mean for your organizations to rise stronger and be more confident? It can be stronger governance or HR policies. We probably don't have the time to look at those very often. But since we're in tech, I have a suggestion for you to start planning your recovery and thrive phase. Reinforce your tech profile. Technology is not going anywhere, and it is a weakness for so many organizations that we see every day. If we learn anything from the current crisis, that nonprofits struggle the most with technology. It is often, put to the back burner and is on the I will look at it later list. So if you do decide to take my advice and allow me to share with you, what does it mean to have a stronger tech profile? What does it really mean? Well, what is a strong tech profile? Well, first of all, I think we all can agree that nowadays solutions need to be cloud-based. I know that a lot of organizations with a server-based solution can VPN to their computer and access their database. Certainly an option, but not optimal. Nowadays, solutions have to be living in the cloud, just like Trello and all the other tools that we suggested you today. So they're all available doesn't matter where you are as long as you have an internet connection. So if you're still running on a server-based solution, please do consider going to something that is available through your browser. Solutions now have to be integrated. I think from our experience, we see that organizations use 7 to 10 different solutions to run their operations, and most of the time they don't talk to one another. So we could have our CRM, and then we will have our MailChimp and our email and our QuickBooks and our Samplic page and our event page through Eventbrite, and all of them live in their own space. Well, nowadays, the expectation is that platforms should be connected and should be talking to one another. So if I make a donation on Samplic page, it goes to my CRM directly. So, and I don't have to do anything about it. It is now a norm, and it's essential. Next phase is a game-changing phase, I call it, because automations is key nowadays, and because manual tasks are a waste of time, they're expensive, they create many mistakes and errors, and you will see that many platforms now offer that logic of automation. Automation means if X, then Y. For example, if I have a major gift that comes in, I want to be notified, and maybe to the entire, let's say, board, so we can plan together a virtual thank you event for that specific donor. So those are automations. And nowadays, actually, artificial intelligence is playing a bigger role in helping organizations succeed. So algorithm now available to the nonprofits organizations. So how can you use artificial intelligence in your operations? Well, how about something like prediction, and we can predict who will donate and who will not donate and when. So if we take very cool algorithm and plug in all our awesome CRM data, we can predict those things. Or as well, we can have artificial intelligence, AI, recommend us what to do with a particular donor depending on their profile. So all that is now available to the nonprofit sector. And often I hear nonprofits say, Julia, but we're very small, we're only 2 people, and our operating budget is 200,000. I don't think we can have a powerful tech profile. Well, I say that it's wrong, and then that's a thinking of the past. No, regardless of your size, you can have that profile, and you don't have to be the Red Cross to have a strong profile. It's actually probably easier for you to have that strong profile than for larger organizations. But we can talk about this on another day. So next, since, well, you said, well, I don't have a very strong tech profile, where can I start? Well, those who know me, you know that I love giving people homework. And I think what you can start is with the basics, which is in the tech space is data quality. What is data quality? To me, it has many different levels, and data quality has so many aspects, such as data normalization, data deduplications, data design. I would like to start very simple and just to focus on such things as data completion. We work with many clients, and a lot of them have big holes in their data, and I think this is the best time now, as you will respond to your donors, and the crisis mode will slowly transition into recover mode. In that mode, you can start thinking about your basic fields. Do you have everything completed in your database, in your spreadsheet, in your Access? And if not, make some effort, grab a glass of wine and go through those fields and complete them, because that data is super important, because as if you move forward, it will make your life much easier. Even if you don't have a state-of-art CRM system, just having everybody's email, salutation, and gender in your CRM can be used to build very cool campaigns. Duplicates, it's a reality, and now, as if you can access your database, think about what are the duplicates, records of your donors, and what would be a strategy to remove them, and how you can sustain that. And as you move forward and really thinking about, okay, I want to be very strategic, and as I will recover, if you want to thrive, I want to identify my top donors, or the donors that I want to steward. Well, the following key stats can really help you to zoom in who are those critical donors are, and you will only know that if you have information such as, what's the last give date, who is your biggest donor in terms of how many gifts they made this year or last year. And again, you don't have to have a fancy CRM. You can pull out into Excel spreadsheet, do a pivot table, and get the information ready to be able to communicate to your donors now and later. So since we are a Salesforce partner, I actually wanted to show you how we do that in Salesforce. And I do have few people here who are from our Salesforce community. Just very quickly, what is Salesforce? Salesforce.org is a nonprofit. There's a nonprofit cloud that Salesforce offers, and it's a platform, a command center for fundraising, for managing programs, marketing events, and it communicates with many other platforms, so everything talks to one another. So in the example that I'm going to walk you through today is how would you manage your data quality in Salesforce? And I'm going to try to make parallels. If you don't have Salesforce, again, you can still manage your data quality, complete those holes in the data. So if you guys just bear with me, I will switch my screens and jump into my other screen. All right, so you should be, whoops. Screen management, there you go. So here I'm in my Salesforce org. I am in, this is my demo environment, so all the data here is false. So what I really wanted to show you, and for those who are using Salesforce, first of all, you would need something that is called Data Quality Analysis app from AppExchange. It's free from amazing Salesforce Labs, and it comes with dashboards that I will show you. But let's try to keep it generic. So what are we trying to do here? We're trying to go through your contact records and make sure that your your donor records are scored. How cool would it be if we could say, what are we missing to complete, so I don't have to go through each cell and complete it. So what you can have is basically an Excel spreadsheet, and with the key fields that I recommended or you think that are important to you, and see what is missing. So here for Bob Iger, I'm actually using primary donor appeal. So in your spreadsheet, you could be able to either enter it or have it already pre-populated from your list from the other worksheet. And Bob Iger is missing a salutation, and we know salutation is very important, so we'll enter that. So you can clearly do that in Salesforce, very easy. But if this is a spreadsheet, it's basically a field that you would complete and filter on the blanks. And the data score is something certainly is calculated in Salesforce, but you can easily mimic that formula, which is super simple formula within your Excel that looks at the different fields that you have, and it will give you a score. And if any of you guys are interested in getting that, how to get that score in Excel, don't hesitate to throw that in the Zoom chat, in the chat, and we will get that formula out to you. We're pretty good with formulas here. So as you go through them, you will see basically your idea is to try to get to 100 for each of your donor record. And then if you are really feeling inspired, what you could do, you could graph your entire data records and see what is the overall state of my data. Whether it's Zoho or any other system, you can certainly do a simple pivot table and add a chart. For example, here we see that in my contacts, I am missing 65 records, which represent 34% of all my donor records. Data is complete, and I have like a little Bravo data is complete status, whereas I have another 55% where I'm missing two things: salutations and appeal. So this graphic, you don't have to do it in Salesforce. If you have an Excel spreadsheet, you do a pivot table on two different axes, and here we go. In Salesforce here, I mean, with this app that you could download for the AppExchange, you actually can see who's doing a good job and who's not doing a good job. So it's really helpful. As you can see, I have a higher score in data quality, so 51%, yay, not really good, but we'll take that. So if you guys have any more if questions about how to set it up and you would need to tweak it in Salesforce, we're obviously here and can help you out to set this up. The app is free for Salesforce customers. So that was all for me, and I will actually pass it over. Do I have anything else? Let's see if I forgot. Oh, no, there you go. I will pass it over to Kim now for closing remarks.
Thanks, Julia. We'll just wait to get back to our regular screen, and we'll flip back to our last couple of slides. And I don't know about you guys, but I need another deep breath because that was a lot to take in. Thank you so much for being with us. We're not done yet. We still do have up to an hour if we need it. And we know that you're all busy and you have to get off to doing other things and probably have a lot on your plate to wrap up before Friday closes down for the weekend. We are going to be opening up in a minute for question and answers. So that's a really valuable time for us to hear from you and hear what your needs are. So please stay with us for a few more minutes. We'll stay on as long as we need to answer your questions, and please use the Q&A button at the bottom to submit your questions. And we also have a colleague who is taking the questions from the chat, and we'll be facilitating that in a moment. So taking a break from our regular activities gives us a chance to focus and refocus our energies, lay the groundwork for smarter strategies moving forward. Francois and Julia gave us a lot of great tips today on how to get things back on track and to look forward on how we can maximize cloud solutions and how to pivot our events and so on. And you're not alone in this. There's an amazing nonprofit network for support. We're seeing it already in the chat today where you're sharing ideas with each other, and that's great. And know that we're here for you as well. Each of our companies, Phil, S'implique, and Uniburo, are offering significant discounts and tools during this difficult time. You're going to get a message that'll come with a survey after this webinar, and you can find out how your organization can benefit from these gestures of solidarity. So we have a few minutes. I think Mitchell is going to give us some of the questions, and they'll be directed to each of the panelists. If we don't get to your answer before the end, we will be following up with some materials by email. So please, thanks again, stay healthy, and we're ready to take questions now.
All right, welcome everybody. So I'm going to be asking the questions to the panelists. So our first question